All right, aspiring bracketologists, hold up your ill-fated sheets of integrity. Embrace them because it's only a matter of time before they, of course, crash and burn. Fantasy baseball players, you really just can't pass up the chance to match wits with Macy. Not necessarily me. With Macy, your time's running out. We're going to have our draft very soon. Details to follow. And I know a lot of people out there think they are social media experts. No. We have the social media guru here in just a few minutes. Yes, this is the Mark and Macy Show. We come your way every Thursday night. This is show number 16. And Macy, I didn't know if you knew this, but this is my favorite night of the week. I didn't know if you knew that. I don't know how you feel about it, but that's me.
I think you're taking a line out of my book. It's definitely my favorite night of the week. And I mean, this is literally the best Thursday ever. St. Patrick's Day. So I've got corned beef and cabbage waiting for me when this is done. We've got March Madness kicking off today. So my day was just filled with basketball. And it's Thursday. So, it's our show. What more could you expect, right?
Yes, and you've got your green on. No, you don't have your green on.
No.
And I don't either.
I actually don't like the color green, and I really don't own any green. And I have one shirt that's like an olive type of green, and I wore it yesterday. You think I'd maybe wait one more day?
I think I made the same comment around Christmas time when we were talking about wearing Christmas stuff because I don't own any green either. Don't like it. Don't like it on me. Other people can wear it. You look great. Yeah, not a lot of greens and browns in my wardrobe, so we kind of pass up on that. But, yeah. Macy, you talk about dressing up. Wow, we saw the pictures from last weekend, and you got to take it from there. Maxwell Football Awards in Atlantic City. You played a prominent role. It looked very exciting.
It was honestly unbelievable. I had the opportunity to attend the Maxwell Awards. I got to cover them, so that was a cool experience because I was seeing it from one side, interviewing the players, talking to them, getting to know them. And then I got the opportunity to also work on stage and present the awards to all the players. So, I handed that trophy over to all these big names in sports, and I got to meet so many former players and former coaches and just people involved in the NFL. And it was truly a weekend focused around the great game of football. And it was a little bit of a reminder that all the good people in that sports do exist, and it is still out there. So it was really refreshing to be a part of that. It was so much fun. I met so many great people. I was honestly speechless. Like, I was in heaven. It was the best thing I've ever been a part of.
Well, you didn't have to give a speech, so it was okay that you were speechless. But you pulled double duty. You mentioned that you actually covered the awards, but then you also filled another role at the same time.
Yeah. I actually got to meet Vince Papale, which to me was the coolest part. I guess because being that I'm a New York fan living in Philadelphia, I understood that part of the story in Invincible about the bartender and the girl being the Giants fan stuck in Philly. So I kind of made a joke to him about how, I was told, oh, that's you. That's who that girl is. You're her in real life. And when I told him that, he said, it's funny. I saw you at the party the night before, and I thought, wow, she looks so much like Elizabeth, who was the bartender. So before we even really met or anything like that, it was just such a small world, like, coming together. And he was definitely like one of the coolest guys that I've ever met, like, in my life. So that's a good story that I walked away with this weekend.
Yeah, that is really amazing. Great opportunity. You made the most of it. We got to see a little bit of what was going on. So follow Macy at Macy Golder. Also follow us on Twitter as well. If you haven't followed us already, what's up? What's going on? So Mark and Macy Show, join us there as well. And maybe the third priority in all that would be to follow me at Mark Rogers TV. Okay, brackets. We're watching this exciting Purdue-Arkansas Little Rock game, one of these famous 5-12 matchups, and I couldn't get Macy to really pay much attention to me and what I was saying when we first connected here, because she was locked in on that. I thought there was like an earthquake going on somewhere or something, or she had like a couple grand locked up on this game. So, well,
no, I just have Little Rock. I just have Little Rock, so I'm really rooting for them. I picked them as one of my big upsets, I guess you can say, and I just really had a feeling it might happen. So,
well, it still might happen. They're only down a point with 26 seconds left, and Macy,
trying not to watch.
You know, if things don't work out here, you still have to be a professional and pull off a good show here. You can't let me down here.
Oh, absolutely. Because I'll forget about it in 2 minutes. It's okay.
Devastated 1 minute, completely out of her mind. The next
minute. Just on to the next game. That's the great thing about, the opening days of March Madness is, okay, I lost that game, on to the next one, and then you're caught up in another game. So it's totally cool.
Okay, in just a second, we're going to bring in Pat Muldowney, who's the social media manager at Fox Sports in LA. So that's very exciting. Pat and I work together at ESPN. Great guy. Used to do a ton of stuff online with him as well. So before we do that, I've got to unveil, because I was so successful with my Super Bowl pick. So I got on here prior to the Super Bowl and told everybody how successful my Super Bowl picks are through the years, whatever it was, 25-6, 26-7, something like that. And guess what happened? I was wrong and somebody else was right on the Super Bowl. So I'm going to go through my final four picks, and I am not claiming anything this time because it's basketball, number one. Number two, I did this, Macy, at 11:52. So I was at work and said, I better get this done. They're just about ready to tip off. So I'm not going chalk here. I've got no ones. I've got a 2 2s, a 4, and a 6. I've got Michigan State, the 2. I've got another 2 in Oklahoma. I've got a 4 in Kentucky and Arizona. And I've got Michigan State defeating Arizona in the national championship game. There it is.
Mark, for once we are on the same page. I also have Michigan State winning it all. But I have them beating Texas A&M. It's one of those things. I go off of teams, obviously, and, how well they do. But there's things that, maybe something stands out. I picked Texas Tech today because of Cliff Kingsbury. I mean, it sounds so dumb, but I pick teams because of stuff like that. So I do have Texas A&M. I have Kansas, UNC, and Michigan State. So it's my final four. We'll see if it works out. My mom tends to pick on just colors of teams and mascots and usually does better than I do. So I think really it's anyone's game.
I'm going to make the connection, Macy, that when Florida's in the tournament, you pick them every time. If you're going to say that about Cliff Kingsbury, then what we know about a certain quarterback that you might be picking like the Gators every year.
No, I don't know if I would, honestly.
75 all.
Oh my God, my heart can't take this.
I couldn't see the seconds left, but there's not many. It was 17 just a few seconds ago. All right, Pat, are you with us? Hopefully Pat will join the open seat. He's never been on Blab before. We hope he can catch up with the technology here. Boom, he's got it.
Welcome to Blab, Pat.
All right. Mr. Pat Muldowney, look at that. There he is, live from L.A. How are you? Uh-oh. We can't hear you. Keep going. We can't hear you. He can't hear you. You obviously can hear us. So keep trying.
We got the thumbs up emoji so he can hear us.
Yeah. And he's got his green on.
So festive.
He probably even knew how to change his name to green font, I'm guessing. This guy, when it comes to social media, I will say that at one point I was doing a show, Mark Rogers TV, on the internet. This was a couple of years ago. And I would have Pat on all the time, and he would school me on the NBA and college basketball. As you well know, Macy, not my thing. And at one point we were talking about how much Pat tweets, and I forget what the number is. And he will have to fill me in because I think it was like 100,000 at the time. I need to look him up to see where he is at this point because I thought I was tweeting a lot at that point. I was at like 6,000 and whatever it was.
He was at 143,000.
143,000. I think he slowed down. I think
that's okay. I think I'm right in that ballpark too. So I don't have much to say. Oh no, just kidding. I'm at 47.8.
I'm in the 20s somewhere. 75 all, 8 seconds left. We might be looking at double overtime with Purdue and Little Rock.
I'm going to need to start doing like some
Yes, we are.
meditation.
Oh, boy. Yes.
I'm going to have to like sit here and...
I don't know what you have against Purdue.
You know, I always root for Big Ten teams, but there's just something about Purdue that I just...
Why would you pick on Purdue?
I don't know.
I find that kind of strange that you would pick on Purdue. I know you don't like Ohio State. So you wouldn't be picking
I
Ohio
did
State.
pick Michigan, though, which is very hard for me to do. But I did it. I picked Michigan.
They are the Penn State football rivalry. I don't necessarily agree with that, but that's kind of how it shakes out. Although you play Michigan State the final weekend of the season every year.
Yes.
All right.
I like Michigan State, though, so I'm rooting for them.
There's something about Michigan State, for as hard as they've been on the Buckeyes in football and basketball in recent years. I always root for Michigan State, and I've got so much respect for Tom Izzo and Mark D'Antonio.
Mm-hmm.
They've really built up those programs from mediocrity in the last few years. So while we wait for Pat, Macy, I think we need to encourage some fantasy baseball players here.
Yes, fantasy baseball. We should really get Pat to do it. Hello. If he doesn't, I'm going to be really disappointed in him. But so far, we want to fill our league. I think we have 20 spots in open right now. I want to say we have like 7 left. So, we're looking for like 7 more players. Hopefully you'll join us.
All right, Pat, give it a shot. Let's see. We are not hearing you.
I feel like he's just mouthing words. That's what he looks like.
Pat, he's probably going to like carry this on for 5 minutes. The suspense is killing us, Pat. Been trying to get this guy on forever. So, the fantasy baseball. So we've got about 10 players, something in that range.
I would say around maybe 13. Yeah, I think
about
we have like
players.
7 spots left. So we definitely have to fill those. We were going to do our draft tonight, but then once we realized what a crazy night it is with people going out for St. Patrick's Day, March Madness, life, it would be better if we do it next week. And we want to do a live fantasy draft show. So we want to have our show and draft at the same time. So if people want to join us, that would be cool. If people just want to, we can talk about our picks or who we're taking or who we wanted or whatever. We can really just have a large baseball conversation and chat baseball all night, which I think might be kind of refreshing, catch up on some March Madness. But I think it could be a lot of fun. Not too many people do something like that. So I think it'll be cool.
So, Macy, this is how I see this playing out. And, of course, being the commissioner, you can override my decision at any point. Purdue down by 2. You're looking good. So 4 minutes left. Okay. So we come on next week, and we drop the gavel. We start fantasy baseball draft, and then we kind of proceed. And whoever wants to draft drafts if we get stuck at a certain pick. So if we've got somebody, they've got like...
Well, it's auto. So it will, if they're not logged on, it will pick for them. Dude, we'll be here for 3 weeks. We've got people in the UK. We've got people all over the world joining our draft. There's no way everyone's going to be on at the same time.
Okay, so how long do you have to make a pick?
30 seconds.
30 seconds.
We're getting this done. We're getting this done. Fire.
Okay, so that's the show.
It's going to be fire. Yeah, we're getting it done.
Okay, I didn't quite realize it. Yeah. All right, that's fine. That's going to be cool. That's going to be rapid fire.
Listen, that's the only way it's going to get done because we've got people, like I said, all over the place, people that work, people that fantasy baseball drafts are long. They can be very drawn out. I think if in the first couple of rounds, you shouldn't need more than 30 seconds.
I'm with Knight Rider. 30 seconds. Whoo.
You think that's too short?
Well, I just think that, if you're engaged and you're ready to go, okay, it's fine. We're just going to have to time this well at the start of the show because If we don't, then we're going to start our show. Somebody's going to miss their pick out of us two, possibly. We're just going to have to be on top of it. I'm just saying. I didn't
It'll be okay.
30 seconds.
We can change it if you want. I can change it. Being the commissioner, I can change it.
Well, of course you can change it, but you can override me anytime you want.
I'm just thinking because I know I've done it before, and it is a long process. So to get it going and people aren't sitting there waiting and whatnot, I know I did my fantasy draft last year pretty much the same way. And it was boom, 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 done. And it was nice. It probably took us like an hour and change, and it was done. So
I actually
should we see what this caller
Jason
wants?
to jump on. I was thinking it was Pat. I was just automatically thinking it was Pat. Jason, how are you? Welcome to the Mark and Macy show. Hello, Jason.
I don't think his name's Jason.
Oh, Juan. I'm so sorry. Juan, welcome to the Mark and Macy show.
Hey, how are you?
Went out of him that way. How you doing?
Good. I'm sorry, I lost the sign out.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us.
Yes. Thank you so much. Now we're going to go to the person that we're expecting, Mr. Pat Muldowney of Fox Sports social media fame.
Hey, Mark, take a quick look at your TV.
80-75 Little Rock.
Still.
2.5 minutes. Yeah.
2.5 minutes.
In basketball, ton of time. Yeah, for some reason we're having trouble with Pat.
We heard you.
You have audio.
Victory.
We've got it. Woo!
All right, I had to switch browsers. Chrome wasn't working for me for some reason, which is sort of my default.
Well, Chrome is supposed to be the blab thing, so
well,
that's what's supposed to happen.
I had to switch to Firefox. For me, this is like I don't like using Firefox. I prefer Chrome. I use Chrome for everything. So we may not get it in the tournament, but this is my 16 over the 1 seed for today. The fact that Firefox came through and Chrome let me down.
That's it. Okay, Pat, I can probably not give you a rousing enough introduction, but Pat and I worked at ESPN for a number of years. He's now the social media manager. I hope I don't get that incorrect at Fox
Senior
Sports.
Senior manager of social media.
The who?
Senior manager.
Senior.
Let's not short me.
Sorry.
I'm the only guy ever to move to Los Angeles and have a worse social life because I am just working 18 hours a day. So, but luckily it beats actually having a job. So it's been pretty great.
Yeah. So, Pat, you've got to help me out here. Macy probably would have a better idea. What in the world are you doing all day? Because I'm just picturing, tweets flying out, Facebook, and whatever else is out there that I'm unaware of. Vimeo, I'm probably going way off the radar. Who knows what you're doing? What is your job all about?
Well, what I'm learning is, and Mark, you could have probably given me a heads up on this, is, when I went from like a production role into management, it's just meetings now. I literally just sit in meetings all day. We don't necessarily do anything, but we talk about what we're going to do on Facebook and Twitter and Snapchat and Instagram. And, we should probably look into Blab and all of the other new platforms that are coming down the line. But no, it's great. As I'm super lucky to have had the opportunity to work with you, to work at ESPN. It's one of the greatest companies that, anybody could have the opportunity to learn at. Fox is obviously a different atmosphere, a different environment. So, to have that background, that knowledge from spending so much time in Bristol, but now get to do it out here and live by the beach, I've got no complaints.
Yeah, the Pittsburgh kid who works in Bristol then goes out to L.A.
I've made a vow to myself that I will never again live somewhere where it's painful just to be outside. For it to hurt here, I have to fall down once I'm outside. That is pain. Where you are, like Connecticut, through most of December, probably now, just walking outside, it's painful. Never again.
Yeah, you post too much from out there during the winter. That's painful. That's painful.
I don't think there's no such thing as too many sunset pics from the beach.
There are when you're on the other half of the country, the other side of the country, having to try to fathom that going on in December. Yes, it's pretty rough.
Yeah, I'm surviving.
This, Pat, is like your time of the year. And I will let Macy jump in and ask questions. I'm so sorry.
It's cool.
But I haven't talked to Pat in quite a long time. So we talked a lot of March Madness back in the day. So you got to let us know what you're thinking here, what you've thought about the college basketball season. I know that I heard a stat the other day that considering the powerhouses that were Kentucky and Duke and Wisconsin in particular last year, that the BPIs of all this year's ones are below the BPIs of the lowest ranked one last year. That's how even the field is, and even the upper echelon teams this year. So it could be really crazy.
I mean, I feel like we almost have the same conversation coming into every year. Like, this year is going to be so much crazier than the. But admittedly, I was just reading earlier today because anything that says like anything positive about Fox Sports or FS1, I'm clicking the link 100% of the time. And it said college basketball ratings down across the board this season, except for Watch ESPN ratings were up from the streaming numbers that ESPN does were up from what they were the year before. And then FS1's numbers were up this year, which is just, I mean, when you look at perspective, ESPN is obviously still doing millions more views over the course of a season. But the quality of play in the Big East was just great this year, which is the premier conference on FS1. But beyond that, it's, college basketball, it's sort of to your point, one of the, I think it was an awful announcing article, but they said there was just so much turnover in the top 10 this year, where every week when you look to see who's the top, at any given point, I probably couldn't have named 5 of the top 10 teams in the country this year, because as soon as somebody went on a 5-game winning streak, they dropped 2 to either a bad out of conference loss or somebody they should have beaten at home. And the rankings, it was so much turnover. It was almost hard to follow. And with 100 and some D1 college teams, it's kind of nice to have those top 10 teams to rely on. The old faithfuls where, it's tough to remember college players and who they are because, they play 2 seasons or 1 season if we're talking Kentucky. So, I do think that, while I have watched less college basketball probably this year than I had in the past, there's no doubt about it. I have not moved from in front of the TV today.
Pat, don't feel offended by Macy's sudden glances at times back to the screen to check out her upset pick of Little Rock and Purdue. She actually probably ignores me quite a bit more than that during this show. So
I don't blame her. I mean, even if the game wasn't on, I would be disinterested in most conversations between you and I as well.
No, I'm actually very excited to have you here. We've been trying to get you on for a while. Pat and I are Twitter friends, so this is really our first introduction. So hello, hi, great to meet you.
Yeah, that counts as real life.
I failed at the introduction too, didn't I?
It's okay, Mark. I'm a big girl. I can handle it. But Pat, so I always see you posting the coolest things. You're always doing something cool. You've always got something great going on. You attend a lot of sporting events. What's the coolest one you've been to so far?
Man, without a doubt, and it kind of actually ruined football for me. And this was back in my ESPN days, Super Bowl 43 back in 2009. A buddy of mine, Steve Braband, he's actually a social media manager at ESPN. I think he's a segment producer right now, but handles a lot of social and digital. And he works around where Mark's at. Obviously, the Steel, being from Pittsburgh, born and raised, ESPN somehow got us. We got free tickets to that football game, and we were in the upper deck, but we were sitting right over the corner where Santonio Holmes caught the touchdown in the back of the end zone, and that, for the life of me, will forever be the greatest event I've ever attended. I had a buddy of mine from college. His name was Reggie Wells. He was a captain and offensive lineman starting for the Cardinals. I went to Clarion University, where the only people anybody have ever heard of from Clarion University is John Calipari, Kurt Angle, and then Reggie Wells, who was starting in the Super Bowl for the Cardinals. And then, obviously, so that game to go down the way it did, have Larry Fitzgerald on the other team make a huge play in the fourth quarter. Obviously, a Pitt guy who I had loved, but then I hated, and then he made me cry, and I felt terrible. But to see the Steelers come back and win that game. And then, ironically, about a month ago, and this is I'll never be used to what it's like living in LA. I was at dinner. A couple friends from New York City were in town, some former ESPN friends, and we're at Santa Monica, just out to eat. And, Macy, you said you and I have been Twitter friends for a while. I have a lot of interactions like that where I'm like, oh, yeah, I know you from Twitter. It's hard to introduce yourself. We already know each other, but we don't.
It's awkward, right?
Yeah. So a couple sits down next to us, and I'm like, I know I recognize this guy. I know who it is, but I don't want to say anything. I don't want to be awkward. And he was there on a date with his girlfriend, so I was like, I'm just going to let it go. His girlfriend gets up and walks to the bathroom, and he leans over. He's like, hey, are you Pat? He's like, you're Pat Muldowney, right? And I was like, I knew that was you. it was Steve Breston, who obviously went to Michigan, had played for the Arizona Cardinals in that Super Bowl, played for the Kansas City Chiefs, but he's another Pittsburgh guy. So through common friends and connections, we follow each other on Instagram. It's like, it was that awkward. We're like looking at each other. We're like, I know you, you know who I am. We know who each other are, but I didn't want to break the ice. But luckily for me, and then I felt so cool that a former NFL player is like, hey, aren't you Pat Downey? So I'm still talking about that one to my friends today. So life in LA is so weird.
No, that's really cool. And back to our conversation while I was totally distracted by basketball, but you were saying how all of the views on college basketball are down. But I think it's really interesting because now with things like Twitter and social media and Facebook, you can almost follow a team or know what happened just by watching a GIF or a quick video that gets posted live right to social media. You don't need to watch all the games. You have every game right at your fingertips.
I mean, I'd be interested to hear like how that's impacted your guys', viewing habits. I mean, for me, it's been tough for me because as this transition into more of the digital and social world and sharing and Vine and Instagram has happened, it's also around the same time where I moved to the West Coast. So, I'm a diehard Pitt basketball fan, but now games start at 4:00. I'm in meetings until 5 or 6. So did something just happen? Everybody in the office is screaming. Did Purdue lose? Is it over?
They're down 1 with 1.3 seconds left. They're just about to.
Of course, the office I'm in, that's like the one channel that's not working right now. So I'm watching the first few minutes of the Chattanooga, Indiana game. Great. But yeah,
someone in my office picked Chattanooga. I was like, really?
Hey, it's a 5-12.
They've got an early lead. They're up 3-2. So, but yeah, so it's been tough for me. The games that I had always had interest in, I grew up a Big East fan. These games all start at 4:00 now for me. So that's definitely impacted probably my viewing more than anything else. But I mean, has this like digital transition, impacted the way you guys watch? I mean, I think Watch ESPN numbers being up across the board is an indication of, viewer habits these days.
It's totally changed the way I consume media, definitely. But in terms of watching games, Pat, I'm an old guy. I'm stuck in my ways. I do it the way I do it. I just have to have numerous televisions to my disposal, and I don't watch commercials.
But before you go any further, I have to interrupt you. You don't get to be live streaming a show on the internet in different cities than the two other people and then claim you're just some old fogey that doesn't get technology. You're live on the internet right now.
I've dived into this and I do what I can, Pat. I try to keep up.
You're doing just fine.
I still have to ask for, whether it's Macy or a number of other people that I have to ask, how do you do this? Like, I think Macy told me how to do the picture with the quote on Twitter, and then I forgot the next day. So I'll have to ask again.
You'll get there.
Okay, Little Rock won.
That's a wrap.
So,
I had Purdue in the Final 8.
Woo! I can breathe now.
What seed was Yale?
12.
So
12-5
already.
12-5. Yep.
And then Chattanooga with an early 4-2 lead. So we could have 3 12-5s today.
Keep your eye on that one.
Yeah, but I mean, college basketball as a whole, so obviously sports in general with social media and digital media, it's obviously changing the entire landscape of how we watch. But I do think there's something to that. And there's never a year where there's less TV or less things than there were the year before. And I mean, 4 years ago, college basketball didn't have to compete with my binge watching of House of Cards over this past weekend. And, I do it at my time. I do it, when I have the availability. So it's going to be interesting to see like what sort of impact that has on college athletics moving forward.
Now, see, for me, the DVR is my best friend because, like, for example, I can go hit the gym. I start DVRing NFL or college football games at noon or 1 o'clock, and then I can catch up, and it's not a big deal. And I do that all over the place. Yeah.
So I would say to both of you, is there a sport or an event where because of social media, you have to watch it as it's happening live in real time? Like if the Steelers are playing, like I can't do the DVR thing. Like I can't come back and try to catch up. I'm going to know what happened. It's all going to be in front of me.
I mean, the thing with me and social media is that I can watch one baseball game and go on social media and know what's happening in every other game. So I'm kind of like watching what I want and seeing everything else I want too. but it really depends on who you follow. So like during college football season, I follow everybody Penn State. So I'm getting instant Penn State, Penn State, Penn State, Penn State by every play-by-play, second-by-second, everything that's happening. So if I'm not watching that game, I can't be on Twitter because I'm going to know everything. So I really think it just matters on who you follow and what kind of stuff is being put into your timeline and being put in front of you. But besides that, I mean, I think like faster sport, like hockey, I have to be watching. You know, like to follow that online, I have to watch that. I don't know. What about you, Mark?
When it comes to hockey, yeah, I've got to be locked in on hockey. Yeah.
That's right. I forgot. You just love hockey so much.
The way it's changed me is we hear all these studies that are coming back about social media and kids and the lack of attention span and how they're locked on their phones. And I've got two myself, and I've witnessed it for the last 5 or 10 years. That I've become one of those people that's on my phone all the time. And I've had to set up rules, kind of like mental rules for myself to keep my own sanity that, you know what, I'm not going to check my phone for 2 hours or whatever. I'm going to charge it upstairs where I can't get to it. I'm just going to leave it up there. I can't imagine you doing that, Pat, but I've had to do that just to kind of like, I don't know, bring myself back to normalcy.
I mean, I'll leave my phone in my bedroom to charge, but I mean, I'll still get my notifications on my Apple Watch. So then I'm just like running back into my bedroom or checking my text messages. I can't be detached.
I am such a knucklehead that I have not been able to figure out how to shut off the notifications on one of my computers. So I found my daughter. You know, she got up before I did. I came downstairs. She's on my computer and like notifications are coming. Boom, boom, boom. Facebook, texting. And I'm like, what have I been texting? Who's been texting me? Yeah. Anyway, let's dive back into sports. You know, the one thing that I wanted to ask you, Pat, is with this phenomena that's been Steph Curry. I know that you don't necessarily enjoy the who's greatest argument because it's so difficult to weed through eras and competition and so forth. But I think it's definitely a really good argument and point well taken that is he changing the way the game's played and the way the game will be played and the value of his position and his type of player?
There's no doubt about it. You know, when you look at it, one of my favorite things that I feel like is like the least talked about interviews that he's ever done. It was, I think, might have been 3 years ago now. I think it was Steph Curry and Klay Thompson were on Bill Simmons's podcast around the NBA All-Star break. And they were talking about, what impact AAU sports is having on basketball and what direction it's going. And Steph said, because he was growing up obviously in the North Carolina area when his dad was playing for the Hornets, he said he didn't play AAU basketball for most of his high school career. He was in the gym all summer shooting. He said his dad knew if he could be the best shooter in the world, if he could be the best shooter that he could possibly develop into, he was going to have an opportunity regardless of his size. Now, this dude, he's gone from just being the best shooter to having one of the best handles in the league. And I think he's really showing. And also, we don't talk enough about how great he is at finishing at the basket. I mean, he's one of the best finishers in the league at 6'3", probably a $180. And, he's really managed to transcend what we had come to expect from, the best players that could ever, possibly surface in the NBA. When you look at like Jordan was 6'6" and a pretty cut guy, Kobe about the same build. Then LeBron comes through even taller, even bigger. And, obviously Shaq dominated for such a long time. There was always a size component. And outside of Allen Iverson, you really haven't seen a guy, smaller than Jordan's stature have this sort of impact on the game. And Steph Curry, it's I think even more important than what he has done and the way that he plays the game is the way that the Warriors play the game. And every guy on that team knows as soon as they pass the ball, they might get it back. And that is probably, in my argument, the fact that they share the ball so well and seem to get along so well, and that all originates with Steph Curry.
Macy, I was so tempted for the rest of the show to keep you locked out. No.
You know what? Like, seriously, this happens every time. Like, I get so excited about something, and I like have to run off and text one of my friends or tweet them, be like, "Oh my god!" And then Blap kicks me off.
We're
happens
doing
every
a
time.
show here.
I know, but I know, but my
To
girlfriend,
deal
no,
with?
listen, my girlfriend and I at work, like, we're going hardcore into this March Madness bracket. Like, we need to beat the guys, we need to win. And we both picked Little Rock, like, not even knowing. So I texted her, I was like, Little Rock! And she's like, I know. And then I lost you guys.
Okay,
So,
you're admitting to picking teams that you're unaware that you even selected. And
no, I knew I purposely picked them. I told you I was picking against Purdue. I don't like Purdue. We already had this conversation.
I don't know how you don't like Purdue. I
Because I
don't.
like
I just
them.
don't think they register that you need to dislike them. But especially as a Big Ten girl.
Yeah, well, sometimes, I don't know. You just don't like teams, and I wasn't liking them. Was not liking them.
You understand your reaction's not going to change the results, and we're right here doing a show. So anyway,
I know.
back to us.
Look, when I'm with you. When you're right about something that you may not have anticipated being right about, you need to remind everybody how right you are. That's right.
Exactly. Like, this is my one shot. This is it. So I got to enjoy it.
And Pat, like I alluded to off the top, I'm starting to feel a little pressure here because Macy picked the Super Bowl right. I picked it wrong. I take great pride in picking the Super Bowl correctly, both straight and against the spread. I came in bragging about my 25-6 record, the last 31 Super Bowls or whatever it is. I've got it recorded somewhere, but I picked it wrong. And now we've got brackets. So, there's a little competition there. Now we got a fantasy baseball league. If she beats me in fantasy baseball,
you got to hang it up. It's just the Macy show.
It's just the Macy show. It'll take increments. It'll be the Macy and Mark show next, and then it'll just be the Macy show, and then
it will be Macy and guest.
I used to do this with some guy. I don't know. The one thing I wanted to say about Steph Curry that I think was an interesting portion of an argument that I heard was, for as great as Jordan was, did he change the game? I don't think he necessarily changed the game. Guys were very athletic, great dunkers. Dominique and Dr. J obviously come to mind. If anything, Dr. J kind of changed the game because he was the first one that was really freakishly athletic, crazy dunks. If you go all the way back to Babe Ruth, he changed baseball. Is Steph Curry changing the NBA? Unlike, I know he's being considered and compared to LeBron currently and Jordan from a legendary standpoint in just regards to how good he is. But again, I go back to the argument that maybe he's changing the game even more so than some of those people within his sport. And similar to a Babe Ruth who started hitting 60 home runs when home run champions were hitting 10 or 15 just a couple years earlier.
I mean, it's the irony is that he plays a position that he is absolutely, utterly dominating, but it is also historically, you could argue, this is the richest time in the history of the NBA for point guards, top to bottom. When you look, we were discussing the other day, and if you are in the playoffs, you probably have, an elite level point guard. I mean, maybe not the bottom 3 or 4 teams in each division, but there are so many good point guards. When you look at just the best top 10 players in the league, obviously Steph Curry's in there. Russell Westbrook is far and away my favorite player in the history of the world on this planet in any sport ever, in anything. God, I love Russell Westbrook so much. Don't shy away, Mark. Just embrace it. Learn to love him. But yeah,
problem with Russell Westbrook. I'm just flabbergasted to hear that. I didn't know that was anybody could be capable of liking a player that was. He's a very good player, but I just don't know of anything legendary or iconic that he's done that anybody would feel that way. But again, there was a time that the third baseman for the Cleveland Indians, Brooke Jacoby, was like everything, and nobody knew who the guy was. So, okay, I get it from that standpoint.
I mean, there's also a narrative that goes along with it. I mean, Westbrook went on an all-time historic run last year when Kevin Durant was out, putting up near triple doubles with 30 points every single night. But it wasn't. There was never a celebration of Russell Westbrook. It was look how many times he's shooting the ball, or well, okay, sure, he's doing this now, but what's going to happen when Durant comes back? There was never an isolated celebration of it, like the run that he went on and what he had been doing. But I mean, if you look at the way that he is one of the best passers in the game, he creates shots for his teammates. He has a pissed off look on his face all the time, and he plays super aggressive. So, there's a connotation that comes along with that style of play where Steph Curry hits a 3, runs back down the other end. He's smiling and dancing. And, it's just two different approaches, to the killer instinct that they both have. But no, it's back to your original point. I do think that what Steph Curry is doing right now, and I would argue if you watch the NCAA tournament, this is Steph's, he's 28, so seventh year in the league now, I believe. You will start to see, these guys were starting high school when Steph Curry entered the NBA. And he missed a lot of time his first 2 seasons with injuries. But these guys were impacted by watching him play, by his style of play, and by the way he's taken over the league. So, I would argue if you watch through some of the, maybe not individual decision makings, but style of play of point guards and, the way that these teams move the ball, there's certainly an impact there.
Pat, we could talk sports all night with you. We would love to have you back at some point. Definitely, if Macy has anything else she wants to throw your way, go to it.
I do have a question for you. So, Mark and I had this really long discussion over a couple different shows about the NBA All-Star Game. If it were not for social media, would the NBA All-Star Game even be a thing anymore?
And first, Pat, guess what side of the argument I was on? I'm sure that'll be difficult for you to figure out.
Mark, you must have. Did you say no?
I didn't sign up for all this NBA and NHL talk when I found Macy here. I'm just trying to keep up.
But when you extended the invite to me, you knew we were just going to talk basketball. That's where we were.
Hey, that's why we have you on, amongst other things.
I do think the NBA has been the smartest, most they've really led the way as far as social media and digital media and distribution of their content like nobody else has. If you take a video of your TV of the NFL and post it, and Deadspin went through this issue this past season by posting GIFs and Vines of NFL stuff, they had their entire Twitter account suspended. The NBA basically has this carte blanche, do what you want with our stuff, just put it everywhere all the time, always. And Mark, you don't have to be a big NBA fan. I would argue that just the time that you spend on social media, be it Twitter or Facebook, you've probably seen every ridiculous play that Steph Curry has made this season, even if you haven't tuned into a game. So, and to that point, I do think that, the All-Star break is kind of, it's a celebration of the players for the players. I think that it would still exist on some level, but I think you're right. It is such an event. It is, the talk of the town. It does take over every trending topic because of the way that the NBA has embraced this. And, especially with this topic, and Mark, I know you're passionate about baseball. Could it have an impact on baseball if they, maybe opened up the doors a little bit?
We're still living in 1970 in baseball. Let's move. No, point well taken. And actually, before I jumped on Macy's comment there, I was anticipating a different statement. When it comes to the All-Star Weekend, believe it or not, I think the NBA does it by far better than the other sports. So I definitely agreed with the NBA All-Star Weekend being it's a showcase. And I'm kind of I'm not forced to watch it, but I normally wouldn't watch too much of it. But I think that they get it the right way. They do it the right way. The other thing I was thinking was amongst my list of social media incapabilities, is, if that's such a thing, is that I need to be taught what does GIF stand for, and I can't post one, and it's driving me crazy.
I believe it's graphic interchange format is like what I could be wrong on that. I'll send you a link to you have an iPhone, right?
Yes.
All right. Well, actually, you don't even need an iPhone now because on the Twitter, do you use the native Twitter app?
Yes, I do.
So you didn't get invited to a gift party then.
You must have missed that. You didn't hashtag gift party. You didn't
DMs with these guys, and they send me gifts all the time, and I'm just like, I'm not even going to try. I don't. Whatever.
Next time you go to compose a tweet, look at the bottom, and next to where you would add a photo, there's a little button that says GIF now, and that'll pop up. You can search whatever you want. I'm sure you can get some good Urban Meyer gifts in there. There's probably some.
There's a gift.
There you go, Mark. See, Mark, with tutorials right on the show.
Show him
things. Chase them away.
Mm-hmm.
We might have to go back if this is available on demand and actually create a GIF of Mark walking off the set during the show.
He yells at me for being distracted, yet he's the one who walks off.
Hey, wait a minute. You two were going at it. We were fine.
We were showing you how to GIF on Twitter.
Okay.
Like that.
We'll figure it out. We're good.
They built it into the app just for you. I
just got my Apple Music downloaded like a week ago.
Oh God, if you could teach me how to unsubscribe for that. I've been paying for that for the last like 6 months and I haven't used it. So.
Oh, well, yeah. So yes, it's a struggle. But I figure it out. Remember, Mark is an old guy. Yeah, thanks, Knight Rider. Appreciate it. Thanks, my guy.
Hey, look,
but
but we should say hello. And look, you have a better resource than any of us when it comes to learning this stuff. Marty McPadden can walk you step by step through whatever you need to know. He was living in this space for 10 years before I even dipped my toes in the water. So.
It's unbelievable, isn't it? He's laughing because, yeah.
So
for a guy that's, maybe only 10 or 15 years younger than me, yeah, he's like all over this stuff. You bring up anything to that guy related to social media or tech, and it's like, okay, yeah, he's bringing me along. He's the guy.
Marty is the true guru. We'll have Macy make a list throughout the shows of all the things where Mark says, "What is that?" And we'll just send that over to Marty. He'll have a list of links for you, and you'll be up and running. You'll be teaching your kids by the end of the year.
I should have never started us down this road.
We can start making educational videos. It'll be awesome.
I would love that.
Pat, one of the funniest comments I remember getting on social media related to my show and my channel was related to a show that we were doing because somebody commented that, let me get this straight because it's been erased since then because I wanted to pull it off one time and I wanted to respond to it, but it had something to do with my hair dye just being the worst dye job ever. And I threw that out for you, and you went to town.
Oh God, you're perpetually 18 years old. You'll never lose your looks, and regardless of how far you fall behind on technology. I think you'll be all right.
Okay, I appreciate it, Pat. You saved yourself there at the end. You will be invited back now, and by me, not Macy. Yes, you'll invite you back too. But yeah. So, Pat, I think we could talk forever with you about sports and social media, but you're definitely invited back anytime.
Well, I appreciate it, guys. It's been a blast, and I'll keep tuning in. And anything I can do to, help get it out there. I think you guys are doing a great thing. It's a lot of fun. It's fun to watch. And hey, emerging technologies. Mark Rogers leading the way here.
I introduced Macy to Blab. Thank you.
All right, Macy, you've got some work to do.
It was Marty that showed him.
And Marty's pointing out that I have a functioning microphone only because Marty sent me the link and therefore I could, order it.
Just works full circle here,
All right, guys. Well, I appreciate it. Mark, best of luck holding your own in your fantasy league that you'll inevitably lose this baseball season. Macy, good luck with the rest of your upset picks to keep those bragging rights going in the office. And regardless of how that poll plays out, I hope you finish better than Mark because that'll be good content for the show moving forward.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thanks, Pat. Appreciate it, man. You take care.
Have a good one.
Man, Mr. Pat Muldowney, good to hear from him. Good to see him. We worked together at ESPN. He's now senior manager of social media at Fox Sports. I would never want to get that wrong again.
No, that was good. Pat was great. That was a lot of fun. It was good to have him on it. It was worth the wait,
Yes.
Worth the wait, for sure.
So before we sign off, we'd like to remind everyone that we're here every Thursday night at 6:45 on Blab. The show also gets posted on YouTube. We tweet it out from a number of places, including the Mark and Macy show. And join us on our website there, the Mark and Macy show.webs.com.
Correct. We're just taking over the internet one day at a time.
Yes, we are. Quite the empire we have going. And you got to play some fantasy baseball with us. So please tweet Macy, Mark and Macy Show, or myself at Mark Rogers TV. And if for nothing else, you got to check out these pictures and these tweets of Macy at the Maxwell Football Awards from last weekend. That was very, very exciting.
Hey, I did not trip. You'll be happy to know.
Goal.
Did not trip on the dress. There were a couple steps where I was like, whoa, I'm just going to keep walking, but no trips. We're all good.
Yes, that was objective number 1. And then
and I succeeded. So it was a success.
Very good stuff. All right, everyone. Please, again, join us on Twitter, YouTube, and at our site, markandmacy.webs.com. And we will see you next week.